Orville and Wilbur Wright loved to explore. The two brothers lived in Ohio, where vast woods stretched out behind their house. One afternoon they were hiking deeper than they'd ever gone before. The sunlight was fading through the trees when Wilbur tripped on something buried in the leaves. "What was that?" Orville asked, brushing past his brother. It was a hunk of metal sticking out of the dirt. It had a strange curved shape. They dug it out further, their heartbeats quickening. It looked like some kind of machine, but unlike anything they had ever seen. The metal was smooth and cold. It had strange markings on it. They followed the trail of broken branches and disturbed earth, and that's when they saw it. A large, round object crashed in the middle of a clearing. It looked like a giant metal bird, but with no feathers or wings. It was dented and scratched, but mostly intact. The brothers were both scared and excited. What was this thing? Where did it come from? They snuck back into town and got shovels and tools. This was their secret. They couldn't tell anyone about this. Over the next few weeks, they carefully uncovered the strange craft. They found a hatch and managed to pry it open. Inside there were more strange symbols and lights. The brothers didn't understand any of it, but they took detailed notes and made sketches. They figured out that the inside was hollow, like a bird's bones. They also found what looked like a strange engine, but it wasn't like any engine they'd ever seen. They spent hours studying the object, which they started calling the metal bird. They realized the shape was important, the way it curved, the smoothness of the metal. It was all designed for moving through the air. They also realized that the engine wasn't the only thing making it fly. There were these things that looked like wings, but they didn't flap. Orville and Wilbur started to dream of building their own flying machine. They knew it wouldn't be easy. They were just bicycle mechanics. But they had the metal bird to learn from. They used what they had learned about the shape and the wings, and they started experimenting with different designs. They built kites and gliders, testing different shapes and materials. They learned about lift and drag. They learned about controlling the movement of something in the air. All the while, they kept looking back at the metal bird, trying to unlock its secrets. Finally, after years of work, they were ready. They built their own flying machine. It wasn't as fancy as the metal bird, but it had the same basic principles. On December 17th, 1903, they took their invention to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The wind whipped at their faces as they climbed aboard their flying machine. Orville took the controls, and with a roar of the engine and a shudder of wood and canvas, they were airborne. The flight lasted only 12 seconds, but it changed history forever. The Wright brothers became famous as the inventors of the airplane, but they never told anyone about the metal bird. They hid it carefully, burying it back in the woods, sworn to secrecy. They knew people wouldn't understand. They might even be scared. So the secret remained hidden, but sometimes, late at night under a sky full of stars, Orville and Wilbur would look up and wonder, where did the metal bird come from? Was someone else out there looking back at them? The truth about their invention remained a secret, a mystery as vast as the night sky, and somewhere, buried deep in the earth, lay the proof that we are not alone.